Mothers concerned about a possible child sex predator in their neighborhood visited Salem City Hall this week to stage a protest in front of the Salem Police Department. Local mom Michelle Darr says the man who lives across the street from her northeast Salem home, Steve McMahon, has propositioned her 10-year-old son for sex, shown pornography to her children, and instructed her young daughters how to pole dance. But when she turned the man in, a Salem police sergeant told her no laws had been broken. I would think they would come up and talk to you. Pretty serious issue for you to raise.
Right, absolutely. Well, I had a detective, not a detective, a sergeant come out and talk to me earlier, and I'm trying to remember his name. I can't think of it, it's on my paper. But he came out and talked to me and said no crimes have been committed whatsoever, that Steve did nothing wrong. And I'm like, well, excuse me, he showed pornography to the children on the sidewalk, was very sexually explicit, and then outright asked my 10-year-old son for sex. And he said, well, he could do that. It's totally legal. I said, oh, really? So should I go down? What if I went down to the corner of Court and Liberty and started showing pornos to whatever kids passed by? Would that be okay?
Salem police at first seemed reluctant to learn why families were staging a protest directly in front of their police agency. Officers were observed looking at the protest from within the police department, but none came out until a local TV news photographer left the area.
But they're not, it's just not my kids at risk. It's the entire neighborhood. It's the entire city, really, because this kind of thing makes the entire community unsafe. You know, when people think that there's nothing that they can do about that kind of behavior, and that when people are victimizing their children, they can't go to the only, can't turn to the only people they know to turn to, law enforcement. I mean, what do we have to do? Torches and pitchforks? I mean, what do we have to do as a community if we can't count on the police to come and step in when they're supposed to?
While Salem police were reluctant to divulge information,
this is an open investigation, and we don't comment on open investigations.
Before the day was over, it was clear that Darr and other families present at the protest had gained the attention of local police.
I went over the statutes of my partner and said that Steve didn't violate any of the statutes according to what was in the report. But what didn't make it into the report is the part where he had actually asked my son to have sex with him. So now when I brought this all up to the sergeant who I talked to today, said that no laws had been broken, that Steve had committed no crimes whatsoever, that it is not illegal for him to show pornography to children. It is not illegal for him to solicit a child for sex. And I said, but wait a minute, what about felony luring of a minor? And he said, well, I don't know about that. I don't know. And I said, that's a statute. You said there are no statutes. And he said, I'm not aware of that statute. And I said, well, and as I was pulling my smartphone out, he left.
They lament the fact that it required staging a protest, but expressed gratitude that an investigation was indeed launched. At Salem City Hall, I'm Tim King for Salem Insider.